There are countless different sorts of bacteria. Sergei Winogradsky, a Russian who lived from 1856 to 1953, was one of the first ones to explore the diversity of microorganisms in the environment. He put mud from a ditch full of different kinds of bacteria into a column or into a large container, and the different nutriments such as carbon source, sulfide source, in the different environments like light and oxygen, they will enrich the different bacteria over time. The color development comes from having a high concentration of specific bacteria in a specific area of the column. And you can see that in the top with lots of oxygen, you get photosynthetic organisms, and then further down where you have little or no oxygen, you get organisms that don't need oxygen, but they can, for example, produce sulfide. And you can see that the different organisms produce materials what then the other ones use for their own nutrients. So it's a very complicated ecosystem, but it's really cool because it's a self-contained ecosystem that can sit there for years and you can just see different colors, and it basically feeds itself. So it's a really cool thing, very simple to make, and I'll show you how to do it. Let's go on a walk to the pond. Right, you can either go to Lake Alice or some pond or ditch or creek nearby you. And I'd like to go to our neighborhood pond with my grandpups. And you just need like a shovel and a larger container or a bucket, and then just take some of the mud, yuck, plant materials, sand, whatever you want to, and then put it in a container and take it home. Okay, making a Winogradsky column is really simple. You just need a few things. You need soil, mud, Lake Alice pond water, and some things like a liquid mush of soil and sand. You need a carbon source, which I use paper, and you need a sulfur source, which I use a boiled egg. You need a bottle to collect the column and let it sit for several weeks and months, and then it becomes a really self-sustained ecosystem. So how to make it? It's really very, very simple. You mix together the egg, the cardboard, and the mud, and then fill it into the container. Let's do this. I just cut off the top of the bottle so that we can actually fill it in properly. Okay, and then we peel our egg. We can take the skins and shells, everything together. Mush up the egg. You can use another protein source as well. It's for the sulfide in the different amino acids that's necessary to enrich the different bacteria. And then we'll just use a little bit of paper, cardboard as a carbon source. Just rip it up. And then we mush it all together and fill it in the column. So it's pretty simple. And again, it shows you the diversity and microbial ecology of an ecosystem. When you get Lake Alice or pond water or something in your neighborhood, you can always use it to look under the microscope. There's always interesting things from pond water to look at the microscope. Alright, use our carbon source, and then we can mix it all together. I just use my hands. You don't have to make such a big one. You can have a smaller column, but make sure that the surface is taller than it is wide. So a container like a Tupperware doesn't work really well. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, and then you just fill it into the container. It's a bit messy. I've got some plant material in here as well, so I'll try to get a good mixture of things. Here we go. It's a bit messy, but pretty straightforward. And then at the end, you fill up some, needs a little bit of water on top, about maybe 2 or 3 centimeters of water. and then you can seed it. Leave a little bit of space. And that's my Winogradsky column. So I'll just add a little bit of water on top. Just tap water is fine. Clean it up a little bit. It will settle out. And then you can take the lid. Either you tape it on this way or just stick it the other way upside down. It works. Just make sure it's covered so it doesn't evaporate. And I would also suggest to label it. Labeling, date, initials, just to see what it is so you remember how long you've done it. Okay, so this is how to make a Winogradsky column. And then in a couple of weeks we'll have a self-sustaining ecosystem where we see different colors and different enrichment of different types of bacteria. So now we just need to sit and wait and observe and see if you can see any changes. You can really ask a lot of scientific questions. You can vary the soil source, you can vary the carbon source, you can vary the sulfide source, for example. Instead of using egg, you could use protein powder, and so on. If you come to my office, you'll actually see some of these columns I had for several years now, and they're really great to watch. Sometimes there's bubbles coming up and there's little critters swimming around, and they don't need any care whatsoever. As long as you keep them on the windowsill in the light, it's a self-sustaining ecosystem, and they're great pets to have around. On the right you see a sign for microbia. I'll actually take you there. Microbia is the only microbiology museum in the world, and it's in Amsterdam. And they have some huge Winogradsky column. They're probably about 3-4 feet tall, and they've been sitting there also for years. But it's great to see the diversity and the difference of the different microbes in these columns. And I hope that you get some really great color development in your column. Again, it's not about getting it right or wrong. There's not one way of doing it, and there's not one correct results. Just like some of the other experiments, it's very individualistic. You may get something completely different. Different colors, different organisms, what you started off with. For example, last semester I didn't get any color development. I used soil that probably was sterilized from a bag, and so it didn't work, which is perfectly fine. But look at microbial ecology from a different point of view from now on.